I am Michael T. Smith. This is the Church of, and here is your message for the week of Star Wars, right? 2025. And we're on a series on What About Our Funeral, asking subset of questions about our lives to reverse engineer the end of our life back to our present day life. And we've been talking about what about your supernatural story, beginning really with the idea of what about your story, the story of your life. And we've been dealing with this internal and external narrative, how trying to get our internal narrative more aligned with the largeness and goodness of God, more aligned with a sympathetic, compassionate view of ourselves and others, how that internal narrative drives that external narrative. We've covered 3 thoughts so far in this. First of all, dealing with the internal narrative, just speaking to that, saying, speaking back to it really, you are not cursed. Your life is not cursed. Then we talked about you cannot justify your whole life. Stop trying to say you're the always innocent, perfect person. No, you're not. No, I'm not. No, no one is not. So stop trying. And then last week we talked about you're likely already great. You're probably already great enough, and greatness itself is a kind of a tentative, kind of slippery slope concept. It's a fleeting idea, and we talked about that last week. But today, this week, I've got 2 thoughts, 2 beautiful ideas that I want to bring into your journey, 2 beautiful ideas I want to introduce to the flow, and that would be D, I guess, A, B, C, D, would be this, that happiness is elusive, right? This is thought E, or thought D today. We'll get into maybe thought E. Thought D, happiness is elusive. You could take this in your notes and continuing on that, a D, happiness is elusive, and sadness can be chronic. Happiness is elusive, sadness can be chronic. We're talking about dealing with the narrative. Happiness is elusive, sadness can be chronic, but joy is an ever-present surprise. Happiness can be elusive. Article after article, research after research. I mean, one of the most funded subjects in the world is what is happiness and how to be happy and how to lay hold of it and what societies are happy and what not. And people are, having no money. When you get money, if you have no money, it can make you happy only to a certain point, but having money and getting more money can actually make you sad. I mean, there's countless hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on happiness studies, and the truth is, the conclusion, all the experts have come together and say, happiness is elusive. And then what about sadness? Well, still under thought D, happiness is elusive. The middle thought is sadness can be chronic. Sadness is an abiding reality of the human experience. Happiness can be elusive. Sadness can be chronic. I find that for me and for a lot of people, sadness is the baseline, right? A tinge of despair is the baseline. I kind of start there and work my way into happiness, or think my way or will my way into happiness. But it's almost like when I like in a Tesla. Can you say that word anymore? I don't know if you could say that word anymore. But with a Tesla, a friend of mine has a Tesla. My brother-in-law has a Tesla, and he said, "Man, you got to drive it. It's an incredible car. It's a lot of fun." Blah blah blah. And he said, but you don't need the brakes unless you really need them. And in the Tesla, as some of you know, when you take your foot off the gas, it like starts this reverse charge. And I mean, it's almost like it instantly powers down and stops. And for a lot of us, sadness is our chronic baseline. And unless we're intentionally pressing the gas towards happiness, we'll just be in that mode. So happiness can be elusive, sadness can be chronic, but joy, right, is an ever-present surprise. It's always around us. C.S. Lewis, right? Surprised by joy. It's always around us, and if we're open, joy can catch us. Joy can catch us walking from the bedroom to the kitchen to set the coffee maker and put the filter in, and you just get surprised by this presence, this sense of it's going to be okay, or a sense that there's more to life than going on here, or a sense of just the simplicity of Just coffee, the smell of coffee, or just my life or my home, or the thought of the kid sleeping upstairs, or the thought of a parent, or the thought of a child, or the thought of a friend, and you kind of get surprised by this thing that shows up in the in-betweens. You're neither pressing the gas nor feeling you're not feeling the acceleration nor the deceleration, but you get surprised by joy. Why are these things important? Because a lot of times we go around always checking our happiness pulse, right? Am I happy? Am I happy? I got this? Did it make me happy? I met this person. Did it make me happy? I finally got married. It made me happy. Did I finally got divorced? Did it make me happy? And we're always checking in. And it can almost become this hypochondriac type fixation, this WebMD fixation of am I happy or sadness? Like why no matter what happens, there's always a dark lining on it. And of course I'm talking about in the range of normal, right? If you get to sad thoughts that are debilitating where you're not able to function in life, well that needs some care. It needs a talking friend. It sometimes needs a medicating friend. It needs a regiment sometimes. It can be as simple as you have a reason to be down. Life sucks pretty hard right now. And other times it's like, okay, life is pretty good and you're not connecting with it, so let's get some help. But then in the middle of that, being open to surprise. I had a precious member maybe a week before last, just talking to her and doing a session with her and her husband. And she said, should we be happier? It's like we were happy. I feel like I was happy when I was younger. I feel like when we first got married, we're happy, but we got kids and we got this and life is going. It's like, but I just find myself, maybe I thought it would be more, right? Maybe I thought there would be something better by now, or maybe I thought, kind of happiness and greatness tied together, or maybe, maybe the way I imagined it and the way I'm experiencing it, there's such a disconnect between them that I'm wondering, am I even happy? As a matter of fact, if I pause and think about it, I'm sad. I think about my dog sometimes. If any of you have a dog, dogs will let out this sigh. I mean, Kenobi has done nothing all day. He's got the whole family up to eat somewhere between 2 and 4. Then he's got to go out, and then he's got to go down and get his toothbrush, and then he's scratching at the door because he's got to pee. Oh, nope, didn't have to pee, but I will take the treat just instead. And then I got to go lay down for a few hours, and please don't make the bed because I'm kind of curled up in it under the covers here. And then, it's time to eat again. It's only 3 o'clock, Kenobi. Yeah, well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and we go through all this, and then it's more naps again, and it's time to beg for food at dinner, and then it's lay down again, and we're having popcorn during the movie. I get to do that again, and then this dog will get in bed at night. I'll hear him curled up on his little bed, and he'll let out this like he's worked construction all day, right? Like he's got bills. I mean, he is the least concerned person in the world. But sometimes I just think he lays down and goes, I just don't know if it's what I thought it would be, right? When I was a pup, I imagined it one way. So this is maybe not just human nature. This is the nature of existence itself. So in your notes now, moving on with dealing with this narrative of happiness and sadness and joy, in your notes, there's a dual impediment, I think. Twofold impediment, a dual impediment, I think, when it comes to life enjoyment. And that impediment on one side is a failure of sight, and on the other side, it's a failure of memory, a failure of sight and a failure of memory. This dual impediment when it comes to humanity as it involves, the enjoyment of life, a failure of sight and a failure of memory. The failure of sight, I think of the psalmist, right, in the Hebrew Scriptures. Psalm 27, verse 13, very familiar verse to many of you, a very important verse in my life. The translation I like says this: what would have become of me had I not believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living? And we imagine the psalmist David or whoever's writing it saying, wow, how tore up, how messed up would my life have been had I not actively been believing to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living? And I take that to mean, I ask my own life, well, man, if life has a baseline chronic sadness and happiness is elusive and joy is kind of a ever-present surprise, you can't always say, oh, I'd take some joy now, but man, it'll tap you on the shoulder. Joy is kind of an opposite side of grief, right? Sometimes a little sprinkle of joy comes to you and you think, boy, this is just really nice to ride in the car today. This is great. Or, boy, just the smell of the flowers, just little bitty joys. And sometimes it's overwhelming. You just, if you had a tail, it'd be wagging. You just want to tell the world how great it is. And grief is the same way. Sometimes the memory of mama or the memory of that loved one or the memory of that that child or that miscarriage or that, the home, right? You're renting an apartment, you got your home foreclosed on, and you just go in and you sit down and you're grateful for the apartment, you're grateful for where you live, and you're grateful, but man, just 5 years ago, you were just flying high. And so sometimes the grief just taps you on the shoulder, and other times it just says, I can't get out of bed today. So, but you can feel joy and grief, right? But you can't really dictate it. You can kind of hoist your antenna to try to receive the joy, but you can't really necessarily, you're the receiver of it, not necessarily the broadcaster. And sometimes we're so stressed out that our receiver is not dialed in, and sometimes we have to be unclenched enough to even be surprised by it. But the dual problem, what would my life have been like had I not believed to see? God, I believe to see the goodness of the Lord right here in the land of the living. And of course, when we talk about it, when we think on it, we think about it kind of across a broad life spectrum. You've heard me say before, I believe to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, moment by moment, right? Beat to beat, day by day, solar cycle by solar cycle, week by week, right? In the Sabbath to Sabbath, month by month. Now we're in a lunar cycle, year by year, back to an Earth cycle, right? Lustrum by lustrum, every 5 years, decade by decade, and then life season over life season. I believe to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. But when it comes to happiness, right? When it comes to life enjoyment, the primary failure is this failure of sight. Why? Because so many of us are actively believing to see, kind of pulling down on the universe, pulling down on the cosmos, pulling down on God. I am putting an expectation, a positive expectation to draw down the manifestation, the incarnation, right? The tangibilization. Sometimes you make up a lot of words. We'll show it at Shakespeare, and people really like her. The tangibilization, right, of goodness. So many of us are actively believing to see the goodness of God in the land of the living, while we're believing to see it actively, while also actively failing to notice it all around us. I'm believing to see, I'm believing to see, I'm believing to see. Yes, but you're failing to see. I'm believing to see the goodness. That's awesome. But people who are, sometimes the people, so when we come out of faith camps, and really I think, I disagree with the weaponized religion. I disagree with conditional salvation. I disagree with privatized salvific revelation. We've got a secret, and unless you believe our thing, God's going to get you. That's just dark and demonic and horrible and awful. And I bought it hook, line, and sinker and shared it with the world because that's who I thought. That's why I was conditioned to believe by a weaponized religion. That God was, and of course I've shed that. But when you think about, when I look back and I say, okay, who was close? Really, the faith people, the faith camp, whatever you want to call that, they're the closest, I think, to the idea of the largeness of God, and to the goodness of God. And I even saw, people that I was connected to, still am connected to, people that I love and will always love, kind of stretching the written scripture, kind of twisting it a little bit. Because if it was a tie, if you put God's a bad God and God's a good God on the scale, almost like checking in your luggage. Oh, my bag's 52 pounds, but not if I lift that scale with my toe for a second. They would lift the scale on the scripture just a little bit. Let me just put this one out a little. And I don't think that was wrong. I think they were contending for God is gooder based on my experience than these scriptures in their proper context are representing him. But there's nothing wrong with putting out God a little bit gooder than God is. And so the problem with that faith camp is they're so convinced that God is good, so convinced that life should be positive, so convinced that it's 24-hour victory 7 days a week. So convinced of that it can become formulaic, right? If you're not there, it can become a bondage all on its own, right? The opposite of dysfunction, God's always out to get me. The opposite of that dysfunction can also be dysfunction. There's never going to be any problems, and so we swing over, and so now it becomes a condemnation. Did I not work did I not pray the rosary just right? Did I not do the confession just right? Did I not believe? Where's the failure? Well, don't blame God. God is good, and so if there's a failure, you must have messed up somewhere, which is why your child's going through this. And so it's a valiant effort to lift, but sometimes it creates a bondage all on its own, or we get into that demonic potential thing. When you die, you're going to see all the things that your life could have been, that bestseller you could have had, the house you could have had, and God's going to show you, if you had just trusted me, God's just that's going to be your entry into heaven. Look at you, you failure. I mean, so these are things that are noble, and they're trying to stretch us, they're trying to get us to believe to see, but sometimes that fixation on believing to see the next good suffering engenders a blindness to fail to see the goodness that's all around us. And so maybe the happiness, sadness, joy conundrum, right? Maybe this phantom math thing that we're trying to figure out. Well, happiness is elusive and sadness can be chronic, and joy kind of sticks its head around the corner, and well, I wasn't expecting that, but I'll take that. Maybe somewhere in the middle is a failure of sight, that we're always saying, I'm believing, I'm just believing for good things, but we're failing to notice those good things. The solution to this failure of sight is, of course, intentionality of focus. We have to deliberately exercise whatever modicum of free will that we have. No, there's no such thing as free will. All the dominoes have fallen and conditioned your approach and response to life. Yeah, but whatever wiggle room there is within that conditioning, we've got to choose to exercise that free will with intentionality of focus. Of course, I think of Green Day, right? Take photographs and still frames in your mind, right? Literally, think of your brain being a camera, and just an old SLR, we're none of this mirrorless new high tech stuff they got, but just we're actually snapping the photograph, intentionally doing that. I remember Connie and I listened to that song, and we were saying good riddance to the single life and oh happy day to the married life, and that song was on repeat as we got there, and hoping you had the time of your life, and God, and I'm gonna cry now, but just wanting that when hopefully a long time from now, my life journey and Connie and I's life journey is over, I hope that she would look back and say, man, it was the best thing that I ever did, and so this is the focus on it. So I'm listening to this, and we're going into the wedding, and I just remember people telling me, look, man, on your wedding day, it's going to be a blur. Pay attention. And I remember that song, just take some photographs and still frames in your mind, and I just purposed that day to just stop and look around and to remember what she looked like, and remember what the mood was like, and remember seeing people there. This is intentionality of focus. This is, on purpose. The purpose-driven church, right, or a purpose-driven life. How the purpose-driven sight that I realize that my sadness could be agitated by my failure to focus, on the good that is here. The elusivity of my happiness could be agitated, right? My sense of contentment could be agitated by failure of focus. So within my little chains, I'm in cuffs of a world that I've inherited that's kind of been set before me, but I've got a little wiggle room in these cuffs of free will, and I need to focus on that. So in this intentionality focus, what we do is we acknowledge and accept the facts of life. Mrs. Garrett told us, right? We take the good and the bad, you put them together, and that's what you have. So we accept and acknowledge that there are these immutable things that sometimes you're the rabbit, and sometimes you're the beagle, right? Sometimes you're the beagle chasing the rabbit, and sometimes you're the rabbit being hunted down, and that's life. So we acknowledge, we accept that, but we also have an option on what we choose to carry forward. So there are the facts of life that we don't really have control over, but there's the intentionality focus, what we choose to carry forward. And I think this choice of what we carry forward is very much related to happiness and sadness and joy. What we choose to carry forward. Here's another idea, what we choose to major on, right? The emphasis on the correct syllable, right? What we choose to major on in real-time experiences, where we choose to put our focus. Disney, was it great or did it suck? Well, it sucked, man. Every kid was screaming, every dad was raging, every northern tourist was purple with bloody sunburns. Well, but also, it's a small world after all, and these animatronics are 50 years old, but my God, it's still one of the greatest things in the world. And just a Dole Whip, man. In the hot sun, and you're getting spit on by the Aladdin's camel. These are good things. So it's what you carry forward, it's what you major on. It's what you choose to lock into the memory banks, right? There's a lot of pictures, a lot of still frames in your mind. Which ones are you going to post? Which ones are you going to print? Which ones go in the scrapbook? The psychiatrists, psychologists, the brain experts call this savoring. When we talk about intentionality of focus, what will you dwell on? What will you morsel? What will you carry forward? This past week, I was prom, Mikey's prom, and Connie and I, Mikey's on student council, president, and social committee, and we work with social committee, and we do the events, and we help with the blah, 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 and so Connie has been tasked with the It's a lot of stuff. It's the fundraising, it's the concessions, and it's the senior trips, and it's the homecoming, and it's just on and on and on. But we're coming down. We've got like 3 little events left here in the last couple weeks of school that Connie's in charge of, and of course we're supporting each other. And but it was prom, and Olivia was going to DJ the prom. She's a DJ, but she had a film thing that was an end of year film rap party thing, or with all the film people and just getting together before they close out their season. And so I became the DJ. Right? We scrambled to try to find one and couldn't find one, and people were booked. It's prom season, and we found one. I was like, why are you wearing a mask? And then when I saw the gun and the price, I thought, oh, okay, because I'm being robbed. And so, I just said, okay, well, I'll do it. And, I've got this DJ software and learning the spinning and the, and all this kind of stuff. And, I'm like, well, you guys like Barry Manilow? And they're like, Dad, do not play Barry Manilow. So I'm learning all the Fetty and the Glorilla. And I'm learning all this stuff. And so now I got it. And again, I'm nervous. I'm like freaking out. Why? Because it's senior prom. And man, I don't know if the DJ can make it a party great, but the DJ can certainly make it suck. And they had all the requests in. It's a 3-hour dance. The first, 30, 45 minutes. Ain't nobody doing anything. They're snapping pictures, whatever. So it's a 2.5-hour dance. We had 8 hours of requested music that I got to somehow, everybody wants it. And then there were request slips at the dance. I think another 4 or 5 hours came in, play this song. It's a lot of pressure. Being a DJ is a lot of pressure, especially when you're not used to it. And also, honestly, I think just people don't know how to go to a thing and dance. When a DJ's playing stuff, it may never heard it, but if it's a jam, it's a jam. It's like, I don't like this jam. Well, I can't help you. It's still a jam. So anyway, so it went great and it went fine. And I poured love. Connie's like, you need a DJ name. I said, I'm DJ Love, right? That's my DJ name. It was so funny, so it went good, and then Mikey had to go out. My friend said it was pretty good. It was a good prom, whatever. So whatever, it's a lot of pressure to try to make it magical for kids is what you're trying to do. But you know what? You got to get the last 45 minutes of the set have just got to be nonstop bangers, right? Everybody's sweaty, everybody's exhausted. Nobody wants it to end, but then it ends. But it ends versus going, oh, it ended on a dud. How much longer is this going to go? So it ended right, and all I could think about all through Saturday, all through the day was there was one song I wanted to play. I wanted to sing along song. I wasn't sure if it was Mr. Brightside. I wasn't sure if it was Don't Stop Believing, or I wasn't sure if it was We Are Young, or what. I just didn't know what is it. Some Nights, or is it Fun? What is the song? We Are Young. Yeah. Anyway, so I was like, I blew it, and it's so funny because it was 3 hours of music and a 12-hour day of setting up and beautiful floral arrangements and blah blah blah, months and weeks of research and planning, all that went into it. And what am I savoring? The one song I just wish I had gotten right. And this one girl, she's a precious senior. She said, "Will you play my song?" And I was like, "Seniors, I'm going to try to play every song." And I picked the wrong version of the song that she had. And so what am I doing? Here's the negative, right? It's intentionality of focus. I can carry prom and snap in my brain and put in my scrapbook, you idiot, you messed up that girl's song, or I can savor on the good parts. And Lava Chicken, definitely the highlight of the night. So life can be different for us if we'll learn this intentionality of focus. We can set, and I have in my notes, set our sights. That's an intentional thing. Philippians 4, right? Whatsoever things are good, honest, just, true, lovely, and of a good report. Think on these things. Think on these things. That's actively setting. One translation of Philippians 4:8 says what? Fix your mind on these things. What is Isaiah? I will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on me. That's setting our mind, setting our sights on the good stuff of life. If happiness and sadness and joy, this, it's kind of this idea, you can have it cheap, fast, or quick. You can have any two of the three. You can't have all three. Well, maybe you can't. Happiness, sadness, joy, sadness, happiness, joy. I mean, we want joy. I try to get it. I think if I fix too much on it, I end up getting depressed. I mean, what is the answer? Maybe setting our sights on the good stuff of life is the answer. The big stuff, the small stuff. So instead of this narrative of, am I happy? Did it live up? Did it measure? I remember my pastor tells this great story. I don't think I'm going to get to my second thought today, but that's all right. I have 2 really beautiful thoughts to bring in your head, into your life. We're only on thought 1 about happiness, sadness, and joy. But my pastor tells this story. He's different now. He's like a really healthy, pure eating and whole foods and, live foods and all this kind of stuff. But back in the day, he was like snack type thing. He tells how he used to buy these Hostess pies, the little, in the little plastic kind of wax wrap, these Hostess apple pies. He would go to the convenience store and just buy the whole 12-pack, hide them under the bed, hide them here because he would eat them. But it'd be a fast food thing. And he had this dream, this vision, like, one day I'm going to be on the come up. I'm going to have, I'm not going to be scraping for pennies. And one day I'm going to be able to, go to every fast food thing and buy their iconic burger. So you got the Arby's, whatever that thing was, the Arby's double stack roast beef, right? And the Hardee's Carl Jr. burger or whatever it is, and the Big Mac and the Whopper, and and he got them all. He laid them out. He had an afternoon off. He sat in front of the TV, turned on, and he started eating. He said, "Man, I made it through like sandwich 2.5." He said, "I was sick as a dog." Right? So, what, you finally got to experience what you thought would be the ultimate, and man, it let you down. But maybe you just savor and set your sights on the good stuff, the big and the small stuff. I'll tell you where the real joy surprises, where the real juicing of the good stuff of life is here. It's in the magical mundane, right? Just in the simple thing. Me taking the dog out, choosing not to complain about it, pouring his food in at 4 a.m. because it's like I can fight you from 4 to 7, or I just give in and feed you now. And Kenobi's like, "Who wears the leash? You wear the leash, don't you, Dad?" "Yeah, I wear the leash." But pouring it in the morning, I don't even have my glasses, I can barely see, and just petting him, and I bless this to Kenobi's body, I love him so much, and he's, of course, a beagle, it's gone in 8 seconds, right? Kenobi doesn't savor. Then I take him out, and I just have learned to go out, and it's a clear night, and I see the stars, and I just look at, there's Mars over there, and there's Venus over there. And so what are you doing? You're standing, and maybe it's cool, or maybe it's warm, or maybe it's raining, or whatever, and Kenobi's circling and circling and circling and circling, and I can get mad, and I get frustrated, and I can question my life, and question the world, and all the alligators that are waiting for me as soon as it's like, oh man, somebody else wants something from me that you can't pay. You don't have, all this. But if I get into that, now I'm going to get back into this chronic sadness. But I find myself surprised by joy when I set my sights on a mundane thing and finding the goodness in it. The second failure of this dual failure is this failure of memory, right? There's a failure of memory. We have a failure of sight and a failure of memory. I think about the Exodus story in the Hebrew Scriptures, right? It's like watching a MacGyver episode. Will he make it out? Is he going to be trapped forever? Is he going to die, or is he going to take a piece of aluminum foil and a paperclip and make an atomic bomb? Well, tune in next week or tune in after the commercial. The Exodus story is this predictable thing. It's like kids watching a Little Mermaid. Is she ever going to get her voice back? Is Ursula going to win? It's brand new again. We read the Exodus story, the story of the children of Israel, over and over. It's this miracle deliverance, right? Oh my gosh, we made it out. Immediately followed by this murmuring despair. That is it. Oh my God, it's a miracle. This sucks. It's this idea of God totally hates us. No, wait, he loves us. No, just kidding. JK, he hates us. That is, and listen, this is not a Jewish story, right? It's not a story of the Jewish people. It's a story of people. It's a human story. In these Hebrew Scriptures, where you can read them one way and say, "Oh my God, look at God's chosen people. God's really mowing people down. God's killing everybody. God didn't like the dance party they had. He killed 23,000." You can read it literally, right? Or you can read it and say, "Okay, God, what is the message here? What is the truth? What is this mirror showing me?" And it's really not showing you a story of people out in the woods and God saying, "Moses, I'm going to kill them all," and Moses trying to talk God down like Elvis and the Memphis Mafia. "You're the king, man. You don't have to kill anybody. You can get any woman you want." That's how you can read the story. Or you can read it and go, "Wow, this is showing me a mirror to my own existence. Miraculous deliverance." Right next to murmuring despair. Oh, God hates me. God loves me. God can't stand me. What have I done? This is the rinse and repeat cycle. Somebody say, "Well, what is the solution?" A failure of memory. What happens? We get into the despair and we've forgotten the good thing that we just had yesterday. It doesn't even have to be the good thing yesterday. It can be the good thing 10 minutes ago. We forget it. We have a crisis, a failure of memory. What's the solution? Recall. Recall. Again, intentionality. That this thing is back here, but I'm deliberately going to call it forward in my thinking. Sadness can be chronic. Happiness can be elusive. Joy can be a surprise. But with intentional sight, let me see. I'm believing to see. Yeah, but I don't want to fail to see while I'm believing to see. But with intentional recall, let me bring back something that was good. I'm feeling stressed now. One of the activities I do is I'm feeling stressed and I go, okay, why has this come over me? Let me think. What thought? Oh, I know what it was. I saw that stupid thing on Facebook. Oh, I know what it was. I saw that name come up. Or, oh, I know what it was. I saw that bill. Or, oh, and I like to trace back what triggered me. But one of the things I've found is as I trace back to what brought this slump in my shoulders, I was doing okay. I've also found to go back a little bit further in the video and pause there. Go, oh, let me take this beautiful moment that I literally had 3 hours ago and bring that forward and see if I can't set my energy aright. This intentionality of recall. My pastor used to teach a series, a message a long time ago called Getting Ahead While Looking Back. This was in his Baptist days. Snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, and this kind of thing. And it was a hooping and hollering. But he used to teach a message. It's before I even knew him. He said, Mike, I taught a message one day. Well, he said, I preached the wallpaper of the walls, getting ahead while looking back. And he said, I thought of King David, right? King David is facing the giant. Again, the Hebrew scriptures. He's facing the giant. He's facing the scary thing. He's facing the impossible obstacle. And what does he do? He gets ahead by looking back. And he says, you know what? I ran into a lion one day, a mountain lion out there, and I had to deal with it because it was coming after the animals. I ran into a bear one day. I had to deal with it. And if I've overcome this, what? Recall. I'm recalling with intentional. Now what's this next obstacle that's in front of me? This may be somewhere in the middle of our conundrum, right? Think of Mahalia. I think it's Mahalia Jackson. My soul looks back and wonders how I got over. Let me look back. I talked to Connie one time early in our marriage. We would get to these things and we'd be at a Red Sea thing. Remember, the Exodus story is not a Jewish story. It's the Jews are not telling the private story of their own existence. They're telling a human narrative. That's why it's so enduring. That's why the three dominant religions in the Western world they're dominated not because they're private, right? That's not what connects them. It's because they're universal. And of course, you get into the Eastern religions as well. You just open yourself up. They're universal stories. If you take out what's different in the stories, you'll find out what's culturally and tribally and derived. If you see what's unified in the stories, you're going to go, oh my God, there's a human divine mirror here. But Connie, in our early days, we would find ourselves at a Red Sea situation, right? We cannot pass. There's a river we can't get over, and then there's an army behind us. What are we going to do? And I would tell her, I said, look, we can't melt down. We can't curl up on the shores of the Red Sea. Think of the story. Moses, he said, God, what do we do? There's a river and there are people after it. And Moses said, go forward. And go forward? How do you go forward? Sometimes you just have to go forward. And I told Connie, I said, look, here's what I want you to do. When we get out of a situation, because we all find ourselves beset by failure of memory, I said, why don't you keep a journal? And why don't you keep a journal, and say, oh, wow, 6 months ago I was freaked out because of this and this and this, and look at what happened. Or 2 months ago I was freaked out because of this and this and this, so that the next time we're at a Red Sea, instead of that familiar, God hates us, God loves us, miracle, deliverance, murmuring despair, maybe we can center ourselves and wait a minute. Let's get ahead by looking back. Charting the breakthroughs. I talked to Olivia about this. Olivia is very much like me in the sense that she's got this kind of around the corner perceiver, right? It's a very good strength when you can, when your soul can look around the corner and go, okay, well, if domino A leads to domino B, then okay, I can see what's going to happen here. It's a pretty good thing. It's a bad thing when fear, right? Fear is a prophetic thing. Fear foretells negative outcomes. This is going to break bad, and this is going to break bad. And so for me, when I was coming in my mid-teenage years, and for her, I tried to protect her from a lot of the trauma that I went through. And we all have trauma, but I tried to say, okay, how can I, keep the pathology and the outside influences at bay? And sure enough, coming in those mid-teen years, that anxiety, those prophetic, this is going to be a car crash, or this is going to be the roller coaster that goes off the rails, or this is going to be the concert where the shooting is, or whatever. And I said, maybe what we can do is we can look down and say, let's chart our fears. Okay, I'm afraid these are the thoughts that are dominating. These are what's being whispered in my ear, that this and this and this and this is going to happen. And let's chart it. And then afterwards, let's debrief on it and see, did it happen? Why? We want to train our brain through intentionality of focus. If sadness and grief and sorrow and despair are kind of abiding companions, and happiness is like grabbing at the wind, and joy, sometimes it taps us on the thing and sometimes we completely miss it, or it's almost like when we're completely not focused is when that hits us. What can we do? We can manage by sight and manage by recall, by intentional memory. So I encourage you, keep a list. Again, the Hebrew Scripture, set up some stones. What are these stones here for? This marks the day that this wonderful thing happened. Mark those days. Keep a list. Set up stones. Mark the days. Mark the miracles. This is a miracle that happened. This is something that just, okay, miracle, coincidence, I don't know how you want to say it. Just the impossibility of things that had to come together for this good thing to come to pass. It just, I just have to, what is this? What is the idea? Count your blessings, right? Count them. Keep an accounting of them one by one. As we come to a close today, I'm not going to get to the second thought. We're still into the idea of happiness is elusive and sadness can be chronic, and joy is an ever-present surprise. It seems to me that in my life, coming up on 52 years, the issue of happiness is neither our real problem nor even a recommended pursuit. It's not our real problem. I don't know if I'm happy. I don't even know if that's the problem. And I don't even know if happiness is a real problem, or neither that nor is it a recommended pursuit. What is to you, Pastor Mike, as you try to bring beautiful thoughts to our lives today, what is it? It really, the primary issue seems to me to be the issue of flow. And that's a capital F-L-O-W, capital F, lowercase O-W. But if you're screaming it out loud, then I have the flow in my notes, cap T, cap F, the flow. That seems to be a better area to focus our energies. Now, we're going to talk about that whenever we return to our series on favor, forgiveness, and the flow, when we return to that series. But the flow, focusing on the flow and being in the flow is more than just accessing the rhythms of life. Well, I want to be in the right rhythm of life. I want to be in the flow. Or what I mean by the flow, the will, capital W, the plan, capital P, the season, where I am and when I am converging together, right? The maximized me that I'm stepping in and occupying that for the where and the when and the what that I'm doing. The flow is important, but it's more than just accessing that rhythm. Why? Because accessing those rhythms often involves our estimation of the rhythm, our judgment and consideration. Well, I'm in this season and I've accessed it, and I guess this is where I'm supposed to be, but I don't know if I find it very good. I'm in a building season or a learning season or a regrouping season. We talked about this earlier in our funeral thing, and our What About Your Funeral this season. So I've accessed it, but I'm really this kind of sucks, God. It's not really what I'm into. I found the flow. I'm in the river. I'm in the channel. I'm in the stream. I'm in the slow-moving Everglades. I think that's one of the slowest-moving rivers in the world. You ever go out on the Everglades and you're sitting there and say, this is a pond, man. This is just a giant swampy pond. No, it's a river. It's moving just very slowly. But accessing the flow, you can be on the right river, on the right part of the river, Snake River, Banana River, St. John's River, North Flowing River, South. You could be on it and just not find it very attractive. And so, I've accessed the flow, but it's not just accessing it. Why? Because you bring your judgment to it. You bring your estimation to it. You bring it, how it is, what you're supposed to be doing? Yeah, you're where you're supposed to be. Yes, the wind you're supposed to, yeah, but I don't know. If I had a choice, I'd do. So it's not just accessing it. Why? Because in accessing, you're examining its worth, you're examining its value, but what you're really looking for in the flow is abiding. Not just accessing where the will, the plan, the season, the flow, not just accessing it, but abiding in it. Why? Because abiding, when we're abiding in it, now I'm talking about happiness, I'm talking about dealing with the chronic issue of sadness, I'm dealing with the surprise of joy, accessing, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm supposed to be doing. Why don't you quit? Because I don't think I should. Why don't you get a new job? Because I don't think I should. Well, why are you staying? Because I think I need to stay. Well, you're accepting it, but it's not accepting it. It's choosing to abide there, to set up camp there. What? When you abide, you're coming to terms, or you're when you choose to abide in the flow, you are accommodating it. You are yielding to it. You are appreciating it on its own terms. Accessing the flow is, well, what do you think you should do? Like Connie and I, our daughter graduates this Friday. She's just, I'll get into that some other time, but just doing great. She graduates Friday. My son graduates 2 weeks from yesterday. So, we're down to the thing. And Mikey is going to a college here right up north. He's got a full ride here just up the street, and Connie and I don't know really where we should be. We think Atlanta's where we're supposed to be for now. We can't see ourselves while my son is in school going anywhere else. We really don't want to go anywhere else, and we're here. And somebody said, well, is this where you think you're supposed to be? Yeah. Where would you like to be? I don't really know. We've chosen a long time ago not to estimate, well, Georgia's this, but North Carolina's that, but we did like Florida. But what if we got to get out of that? Why? Because we're not just accessing. We think this is where we're supposed to be. We're abiding in it. We're coming into relationship with the flow on its own terms. This is where it is for us, and guess what? There's beauty and joy to be found when you just choose to abide right where, right when, right in that section of the river. Yeah, but I don't know if I like the section of the river. You're going to drive yourself insane. But when you say, this is our section, this is our time, I don't even know if you say this is our time, because then you start talking about how much longer. Just accepting and abiding. Accepting is important, but abiding, just saying, this is our point. This is our vista. This is the trees we get to watch. And oh, isn't it beautiful? You almost start to awaken to the beauty of that season when you settle yourself to abide in the flow. And what you do is you find the mystery. You start seeking the mystery in where you are in the river. You start seeking, okay, God, I'm here. I know Atlanta's here, and I know here. And it's almost like purpose starts getting revealed in the middle of your decision to abide. When we abide in the flow, happiness for happiness' sake is put on the back burner. Why? We're no longer saying, am I happy here? We're now settling into, let me discover here. And joy comes from discovery. Right? I want to be happy. Am I happy? Are we happy? Are we happy in Atlanta? Are we happy living here? Are we happy in this house? Are we happy here? Are we happy doing this? Are we happy doing the church? Are we happy doing the counseling? Are we happy doing the tour? Wrong question. Is this the flow? Is this the place? Is this the where? Is this the when? Yes. Do we accept that? Yes. Have we chosen to abide in that? Yes. Have we chosen to look around and see where the mystery is? Yes. And now when you say, I'm not going to put happiness as my primary pursuit, I don't even think it's my primary problem. Now it's like, okay, God, what is there to discover in this portion of the river of life, in the story of my life, in this volume, in this chapter, on this page, in this paragraph, in this sentence, in this word? Let me morsel on, nosh on, nom on this word. Why? Because I might see something in this word, or in this line, or in this sentence, or in this paragraph, or in this page, or in this chapter, or in this volume that I need to see here. Why? Because this is where I am now. This is who I am now. This is what I am now. And I'm open to discovery because I have chosen to abide in that place, even when times are trying. When you've chosen to abide, this is where it is. Not paddle to get out of a river. Why can't it be this river? Why does it have to be this river? I don't even like this river, Why does it have to be that? When you get out of that, even when times are trying on the river, there's a quiet assurance within you. It is well. Are you happy? I don't know. But I'm where, and I'm when, and I'm what, and I'm who. I am for right now, maybe forever. I don't even know for right now. I don't know how long the river is. I don't know if it picks up. I don't know if it goes. I don't know if there's weeds. I don't know if it slows down. I really don't care if it goes north or south. I don't care if it shifts one way in the winter and another way in the summer. I've chosen to abide here, and there is discovery to be made. And now we're not looking at happiness, right? We're looking for the quiet assurance. It is well. Why? Because I'm in the flow. Even when the outside observer goes, it's kind of a crappy part of the river. It seems to be a lot of gators. That's a lot of the little pond scum on top of that. Yeah, well, call it what you want. But to me, I've actually discovered that the pond scum is actually kind of, when the sun hits it right, it's got this iridescent green, and it's kind of nice. As a matter of fact, at night when I shine my flashlight, I really was freaked out at the alligators. But if you look at their eyes, they're really beautiful when you look at it in the light of them. I mean, you're surprised by joy. Choosing to abide in the flow. Connie and I have chosen to abide. We've opted to embrace our identity. What is our identity? We are people helpers. That's who we are. We are sacred disruptors. That's what we are. That's what we are. That's who we are. That's what we do. That's where we are. That's when we are. And somebody said, but don't you see the alligators? My God, nightmares about the alligators. But I'm powerless to change where I am right now. In the little wiggle room of free will that I have, I can only see and focus on what I want to see and focus on. I can only recall what I want to recall, and I can only choose to abide in the flow and accept it on its terms, embrace it on its terms, and discover the mystery of where I am. And maybe this doesn't stop the abiding sadness, but it just seats me in another place, in a higher place. Choosing to abide has its built-in beauty and its built-in challenges. As we come to a close, choosing to abide has its built-in beauty and its built-in challenges, but the mystery of its depth, the mystery of its complexity. Choosing to abide has its own built-in beauty and its built-in challenges, but the mystery of its depth. Here's where we are in the water. How deep does it go? What's below us? Who is here before us? Who might we pass on this section of the river? What bird might we see? What sunrise painted by the masters of heaven? What sunrise? What sunset? What breeze? Water has moods. If you've ever been near water, camped near water, lived near water, it'll be calm as glass one day and ripply another, and in the moonlight. I mean, what is here? It has its built-in beauty, its built-in challenges, but the mystery of its depths of the flow, the complexity of the flow, brings far greater warmth than any promise of happiness elsewhere. Do I think I could be happy living at the beach? Well, with as stressful as it is, I think a lot of ocean and a lot of beach would feel really good. Do I think I'd be happy living in the mountains? I think I do. I do like the mountains. Mountains, I really like those things. But that's not where I am. That's not when I am. That's not who I am. Do I think I could be happy teaching something else so that people don't describe me as a heretic or whatever? Maybe, but I think if I stop teaching what I'm teaching, that I would actually stop being who I'm being. I'm a sacred disruptor. I don't mean to cause problems. I don't mean to disrupt things, but it's what I do. It's part of my charm. And it's not disruption for disruption's sake. It's always trying to press for the larger. And I've done that my whole life, and now that I've done it to the point where I've crumbled the substructure beneath me, and the dock is no longer there, and I'm floating in water, clinging to wood, not wondering, freaking out what's brushed up against my legs, what's going to get me, and I've decided if I'm going to be God, I'm going to be God. I can't do it, and I'm making peace with the brown water snakes and the moccasins that threaten, and the egrets, and I'm making peace with it. Why? Because I think forsaking the flow for the sake of happiness, I don't think would be happiness at all. More to come on that when we get back to our series. But I had two beautiful thoughts. I brought one beautiful thought. Hopefully it was a beautiful thought to you today. We'll pick up with that next beautiful thought on next week. Of course, we talk about here at the church of, first of all, thank you for your support so much. If what Connie and I and my family bring into your life is a blessing, and maybe you're a first time and say, man, just listening to you, I got blessed out of that. I think that's the way God is. I think that, well, then if we're a blessing to you, I just ask you to consider, maybe even to weigh out the properness of it. Say, boy, I'd like to be a blessing to this man and his family. Your support of us for bringing you what God has given us to bring. And it certainly doesn't fit everyone, but if it fits and it reaches you at a point, it's like a book, right? You watch a movie, you read a book, was it good or not? It just was where I was, and it just found me at the right time, and it marked me. And then we encourage you. We thank you for just taking a moment and reach out to be a blessing to us. And that means different things for different people. I want to be a real blessing to you. You've been a real blessing to me. Well, capacity and all of that other stuff, but you know what your heart feels, and you're putting action to that heart means the world to us. And also, I tell you, this church, we talked about it last week. We are very much a church. We've chosen by design to nothing wrong with buildings and building funds and all that other stuff. We've chosen to build this another way. And Connie and I have talked a lot. Well, maybe we should go get brick and mortar. Maybe we should rent a storefront. Maybe we should go get one of these old churches that are emptying it out, and we'll run a church on it on Sundays, and it'll be a nightclub and a music venue throughout the rest of the week. Maybe we'll just buy a nightclub and have church on Sunday. We've thought about all that, but we don't want your religious energy going to that kind of thing. We want your religious energy going out into the world. I got this precious email this past week from a dear member and just a very generous supporter, and some of this lady's like, you bless my life so much, and I just want to be a blessing to you. And she sent this, said, I wanted to let you know that I normally send an offering to you guys just to say, hey, I appreciate you every pay period. However, I have a friend that lost her job over a year ago, and her savings ran out this month, and her mom received a surprise diagnosis and is now in hospice at her home. And I know, Pastor, you teach us to help those in need, so I'm helping them keep the lights on and the roof over their head until something comes through. But just know that you're still a blessing to my life, and I'm not going anywhere. I just don't want you to think I've disappeared. And of course, we don't think you disappeared. Otherwise, but also, if we don't even know people are out there or whatever, or how much people are getting. But I just thought, what a precious. That is our church. Our church is not, well, take all the money and give it to the preacher. We don't. We only want you to exchange the value you have. But this right here, Pastor Mike, normally I put tithes, offerings, building funds. I'd do the raise for this and do that and the children's snacks and all that kind of stuff. We don't have any of that here. Well, then what am I supposed to do with my time, energy, and resources? You're supposed to do it at home and away, right there on your screen. Go out and embody love. That's what this member said she's doing. Ease suffering. That's what this member says she's doing. Give, serve, help, hear people's hearts and hear people's pains. Affirm. Build community. Well, people just want to belong. I just want to belong. I like your church, but I just wish there was a place I can belong. There is so much belonging out in the world. Join a tennis club, a pickleball club, a quilting club. Join a pet rescue. Join an addiction support. We'll go to the Ronald McDonald House. Go find a place. There is so much community to be built. We don't have to focus on the institution of the church. We can be like Christ and just go about doing good and healing all the oppressed of the devil. And so I say please, and I say thank you, and I bless you, and I bless God for you. I hope you heard my heart. Father, I declare peace, protection, health, preservation, soundness, abundance, aboveness, deliverance, prosperity, favor, Zoe, the life of God, long life, length of days, and peace over each one, surprised by joy. An intentionality of sight, an intentionality of recall, an abiding in the flow, a discovering of mystery, an embracing of the who, the what, the where, the when. Even if we don't know the how long or the how or the why, we abide and open ourselves to discover. Not pursuing happiness, but just riding the sweet spot of our season and finding joy, being surprised by the joy in that unclenched flow of the unforced rhythms of compassion and love and grace. Oh, speak a lifting word. There's not a day that goes by that Connie and I don't pray for these church members. Connie and I don't pray for our visitors, people that just circle around and look curiously. We call you blessed. You are lifted and loved, and we release that love to you now. In Jesus' name. Listen, God bless you. I got thought, too, next week. We'll get to it. But today was D, and next week is E. And E is what I was trying to get to. That was the part I was really excited about. But I felt like we should deal with the story of happy, sad, and joy right here. So we'll get to that next part. Make it a great week. It's a Cinco de Cuatro. We're going to have tacos, man, that'll make the angels cry. We're getting ready to have them. But Cinco's tomorrow. We're going to have that tomorrow. We're going to Americanize whatever we can Americanize, man. Just enjoy it. And you do as well. You be at peace. Love you so much.